right, obviously Joe Flacco is the linchpin to this game. How will he play? Fourth quarterback this year for the Cleveland Browns. We know he's got a Super Bowl. We know he's 38 years old. What's going to happen for him? Like, let me start it this way. Would you rather it be Joe Flacco starting over a DTR who's still in concussion protocol and at this point doesn't look like he's going to be able to go?
I think it's got to be Flacco. You know, earlier in the week we all said, well, if DTR gets cleared, let him play. And then Mary Kay came on and said, listen, he got clobbered. His mouth was bleeding. It's already Friday. Now, maybe he gets cleared today, but I think at this point, you got to go with the veteran.
We've talked about on the YouTube show at length, the practice reps are so important to these guys. Even if DTR was magically cleared today, I think it's too late, frankly. Like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday installations are so important when you're dealing with young guys like DTR, and frankly, like a guy like Joe who just got here, who also needs those reps. He hasn't even been in the league. So give him the Friday reps. He's already had Wednesday and Thursday. It has to be Joe at this point. I'd rather have DTR just because he's been here all year. If both guys are healthy, give me DTR. But under the circumstances of where things stand, for this week at least, it has to be Joe.
Yeah, they've been doing musical chairs with the reps. Like Jason said, when you need those reps, Joe Flacco needs to knock the rust off. If DTR was here, he still needs the reps to develop. So they've been trying to work on these two-track things almost for 2 years now because we had the Jacoby Brissett thing and Deshaun Watson came back. And I will say, Kevin Stefanski has experience doing that. So it's uncomfortable, but he's showing something to just be safe for. I'm uncomfortable in being comfortable in a certain way of getting guys ready to play in unorthodox situations.
Yeah, Bull, I'm exactly where you are. When you look at, Channel 3 has a close-up ISO version of the hit that DTR took. It's devastating.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a lot more serious when I saw the close-up in full speed than what it looked like in real time watching it with the network camera angle. It was serious. And I'm guessing that the organization made the early decision it's going to be Joe.
Yeah.
Give him the reps because we saw what happened before the Ravens' first game.
Yeah.
He didn't get the reps.
Right.
He was doing a little bit in practice, but for the most part, they were leaning towards going with Deshaun Watson. At the end of the day, it comes time to play the game. Deshaun can't go, and it was obvious to anybody watching DTR was underprepared. I don't think they're going to let that happen again.
When you try and get two quarterbacks prepared, you end up getting neither one prepared.
Yeah.
And remember, we don't even know that he's going to get cleared anyway. Marquise Goodwin had a concussion. He's been out a month. I know a lot of guys come back in a week or two. Most players that get a concussion miss at least one game.
You had said quarterbacks this year, only one.
Only one. Purdy's the only guy who got a concussion and then played that following Sunday.
Yeah.
But he was already practicing by like Wednesday, Thursday, and DTR has not.
Let's do this. Because the Browns have won games this year, probably their stiffest opponent on the schedule so far, the San Francisco 49ers, with less than average quarterback play. In fact, you could say it was bad quarterback play. Where does Joe Flacco have to be on a 1 to 10 for the Browns to be able to beat this Rams team that's emerging, I think, as a better team than most thought they were going to be at the beginning of the season?
If it's a 1 to 10, 5 being average, I think he just has to be average. We look around, and you got to think about it. The Browns have not got stellar quarterback play this year. It's not like they're tearing, the cover off the ball or anything, or putting major points on the board. All you need Joe Flacco to do is what P.J. Walker can't. Don't get sacked. Don't turn the ball over. Don't get confused. If you can do that, mix some plays in, and consistently move the ball down the field, stay in front of the chains, I think they give him opportunity to win.
Jay?
The stat box on Joe, the one that concerns me the most is the 8 fumbles. I've been saying it all year. Just don't turn the ball over. They can get away with a 4 out of 10. Really. I mean, they've won with 40% and 2 interceptions out of their quarterback. When you're playing on the road, though, when you're playing against an offense that can still score like the Rams can, you can't give them short fields. It's a broken record. I say it every week, but it applies with this team every week. With the defense that they have, just don't turn the ball over, and you can figure out the rest. So as long as he's not getting hit in the pocket, which is a big concern with their tackles, if the protection holds, if they're not getting to him, he's not putting the ball on the ground. I don't know that I don't fear him throwing interceptions as much as you do with P.J. Walker. I think he's a veteran. I know he has thrown a ton, but he's a veteran. He should know where to go with the ball. It's really, with me, it's the fumbles for him more than
Yeah.
even the
It's an alarming
interceptions.
stat.
No, I mean, he's thrown 11 interceptions in his last 20 games. That's not great, but P.J. Walker's thrown 18 in his last, 5 games. Or, not quite 5, a little more than that, but still. Listen, the Browns have won games this year where the quarterbacks played at a 0 or a 1. I'm not exaggerating here. Now, the defense was completely healthy for those games. The defense is not completely healthy for this game, so it's got to be higher. I think 4 is the number, slightly below average. They can win. If Flacco's terrible, they're going to lose, because I would expect the defense not to be elite in this game like they were early in the year, because they're dealing with injuries, and the Rams have a pretty decent offense.
For that reason, I think you guys are way low. I think Flacco has to be at a 6, maybe even a 7, and here's why. You touched on it.
Yeah.
We got our best player on defense playing with a bad left wing. We saw what that looked like last year. Denzel Ward, the back-end star of our defense, and the second best player. So if you go into this game with the mindset that, hey, we did it against San Francisco, put it in the hands of the defense, this offense is dynamic, and we're going to talk about that next. They can come at you with 2 different styles, and because of that, I don't think they're going to be able to hold the Rams under 20 points. So I just think Flacco's going to have to make plays. He's going to have to be better than a 4 or average. I've got him at a 6, maybe even as high as a 7.
Put numbers on that. What does that look like? What's a 6 or a 7 look like?
I think he's got to throw a couple of touchdowns, no turnovers, and over 200 yards. That's about a 6 or a 7.
How many big-time throws?
Well, in the course of a game, you're going to need to make probably 5 or 6 to keep drives going.
Yeah.
He can do that. We saw him do it against the Browns last year in week 2. So I think he's going to, if we get an average Joe Flacco or a 4 or a 5, I think we're coming back 0-2 on our West Coast.
I think you're overrating the Rams' offense a tiny bit. I don't think
we're going to talk about that
describe them as dynamic. I don't see them as dynamic.
We're going to talk about that next. And the reason I say dynamic is because I think they're multifaceted. A lot of defenses, you can look at them, or offenses, you can look at them and say, they're going to get you with the pass, or they're going to get you with the run. San Francisco is a rich man's version of what the Rams are doing. Williams has proven to be a very formidable running back this year. We know about the 2 wide receivers in Kupp and Nakua, and Stafford is a quarterback who's won a Super Bowl and is playing, I think, a lot better than most people think. Because of that, which one of those 2 poses the bigger threat? Williams running it or Stafford throwing it?
I wanted to go Stafford because the old Toby Keith song, I ain't as good as I once was, but I'm as good once as I ever was.
That's great.
And I worry about guys like Stafford and Cooper Kupp. They just need, it's in there, and you just don't want to see it at the wrong time. But I have to go with Kyren Williams only because he's the type of explosive back. We were talking to Chris Rose about it on the YouTube show, about he's sort of that Jalen Warren type that really gashed the Browns at times, the Steelers running back. The Ravens had a young running back sort of the same way that gashed them this year as well. So it's those guys, and we saw the running game of the Broncos really sort of eat up the Browns. That I don't think we saw that coming last week.
Right.
So I think I'm a little bit more concerned with Kyren Williams.
I'm definitely more concerned about Kyren Williams. The Browns have not been, now maybe this will be the first time, but the Browns have not been hurt by non-mobile quarterbacks at all. The quarterbacks they've struggled with this year are the mobile guys. And Matt Stafford is not mobile. He's a statue in that pocket. I'm not worried. Now, again, their defense may not be up to snuff as it was. I still think we got as good a defensive coordinator as there is in the league, and he will be able to game plan for this game to get them better than they were last week. They didn't play quite well enough last week. Kyren Williams is the type of player that has given the Browns fits.
Hey, we didn't play well against the Broncos last week. We lost that game. Russell Wilson played a pedestrian game. But if you look at the Rams got better offensive talent than the Broncos
But Russell Wilson's mobile.
He is mobile. He'll get down. But I like the Rams. You know what Cooper Kupp can do. Puka Nakua is fine for them. And Kyren Williams is dynamic. He can catch the ball out of the backfield, screens, and he's a home run hitter. You might not catch him if he breaks out and gets in an open field. I think this is going to be a very tough game. We're going to see what Jim Schwartz has. I got faith in him, but this is going to be an uphill battle. They can score some points.
We're in agreement. I think Williams is where you have to start with your defensive game plan. Try to make them one-dimensional. Take the run away. Yes, Stafford can beat you through the air. We've seen him do it. He's got 2 nice weapons there. Again, to me, the reason I started the show by saying, to me, the biggest headline this week is injuries. Look at how much different this team looks without Denzel Ward. And I know that Myles Garrett is the heartbeat, but without Denzel Ward in the back end of that defense, both areas suffer, run and pass. So it's a pick your poison.
Yeah.
But I do think that the game plan defensively should start on the run.
There's a lot of talent on this defense. It may not be as good as Denzel Ward or Myles Garrett, but there's a lot of talent. These other guys got to step up and play better this week.
Yeah, you're right. This is a step up game.
Let's go.
When guys are hurt, guys need to play bigger and pick up the slack.